I've been making beats for almost 8 years now, and 808s still confuse me sometimes, especially when I'm programming them along with kicks. So I can only imagine how it is for someone else who's struggling but doesn't have the nearly decade of experience to lean on that I have. So in this video, I want to give you the 6 most important tips I've learned for programming better 808 patterns along with your kicks. Hello beautiful person, welcome back to the channel. This video is based on a comment I got in the last one, so talk to me down there because I really be listening. Oh, and if you're new, hi, my name is Chu, and the only character trait I have is that I like making beats. Because of that, I'm already totally over this intro. But if you want to learn more about me, my production career, awards and accolades, and just a bunch of other stuff that qualifies me to teach you about kicks and 808s, check out my electronic press kit linked in the description. Also, grab my free 14 drum kit for sounds from some of my placements and most viral beats. Then join my Discord. All of that is linked down below as well. So, tip number 1 is following the 808 with the kick. This was one of the responses to the question. The person was like, you could do either or, and I agree simply because there's no rules, but like a really good rule of thumb is to just follow the 808 with the kick. I really started locking in with that like a few years ago. I remember when Day Trip was first like popping off. They're like household names now, but really like when they linked up with Lil Nas X, and it was when they did Rodeo, like they did like a couple of breakdowns where they said it like back to back. We usually just follow like the 808 with the kick and we don't like change it up. And they said it for like the next song they did that was like pretty much in the same vibe. It was interesting that specifically in that style of production they were saying that, and it tends to be something that's like ubiquitous. Even just like when you're drumming and trying to lock in the pocket with the bass guitar, like things seem to be locked in with that kick drum and the bass. It's just like a good rule of thumb. You can learn to change it up once you like lock in on just like getting it to simply follow the 808, but yeah, that's like a really good rule of thumb. So for this pattern right here that I have going on for this beat, I don't have the kick going yet, but if we play the kick right now, you'll see that it's following the 808. I could, you know, get super intricate and start placing kick drums where there's no 808. I was minimal with it because I tend to use my kicks just more as a perk anyway. But again, like if there's going to be a kick, you know, it's going to line up with those 808s. I could start doing stuff like this if I wanted to. You know, and just like start picking a bunch of intricate spots. And there's a bunch of explanations I have for why I don't do that. But the simplest one I can give you is that the kick drum, overdoing it just tends to really clutter stuff. I remember Jack Harlow's engineer that said it, or his producer or something. He's like, one time he just told me like, take the kick out, bro. It's like way too distracting. He literally had him stop the session, listen to the track, and he was like, oh, it's the kick. I hate the kick, take it out. And he was like, it's because it clutters too much. So his producer was like, if you're gonna use it, just sprinkle it in. And I've been kind of like using that as a philosophy ever since. And this is related to the comment that someone left where they were like, if an 808 has like a punchy front end transient, you don't really have to worry about like putting kicks with it at all, which is why like you'll hear like really dope beats that don't have no 808 in it. And it's because like that's just basically true. Sometimes it just sounds better with no 808. It don't even have to be about the transient, but a lot of times like a Spins 808 has a super punchy transient. Even that Zay 808 is like super transient heavy at the front end. That's why they just sound so dope with no kick. It almost sounds like lame when you try to layer it with a kick type stuff. And we'll talk about some tips to deal with that in general, because you could still layer kicks with that. It just takes some finesse. And for this, like for example, I actually have 2 808 patterns, and it's the second one where the kick is literally not engaging with that Spins 808 at all. Basically, I like edited this specific 808 to sound like a Spins 808. I just shortened it and kind of gave it a punchy front end transit in the legacy functions of the channel settings. I could have layered it with a kick if I really wanted to, but I just want that transient with the 808 to shine more. But I do have the kick layered with this other 808 right here. And that's just because if we take that kick out, you'll see that that 808 just doesn't really have that much transient. I actually had initially just the Spins 808 edit for the entire thing, but then I was like, man, wouldn't it sound crazy with like 2 808s together? And I was like, well, now that that front 808 doesn't have any punchy transient anymore, and since I'm in my production style, at least I like having kick drums a lot, I'd rather have them if I can. It's just Sometimes the beat doesn't really call for it, but in this case it kind of fell out in the way that it fit for a kick beat, so for a kick in the beat, so I was able to add it. So tip number 3 is leveling, and when I do this, I always use the big 3 concept, which if you don't know, go watch my video on the big 3, but the big 3: kick, 808, main clap or snare, melody. And so that's what I'm going to be doing to start my leveling at the very least. And this is very important for the relationship between the kick and 808 especially, and this is like important especially for the topic we're talking about today, because I always start with like the kick and the 808, because that's the first thing in the big 3 is that composite low end. We can just mute everything for right now, because I really just want to start with the kick, because that's always the first thing right there. And then the main snare, that's going to be the second thing in the big 3. It's always good to just level that too. And now I can bring in the 808s. Let's do one at a time. Bring that. So the kick is always going to be the loudest thing for me, and then that 808, since it's still in that grouping of the low end for the big 3, it's going to be loud, but it's nothing's louder than my kick. So it's just like my kick is probably hitting, and I don't really use decibel ranges or anything like that, and since I'm going for max loudness at the end of this mix, I don't have a problem with just having my kick basically sitting right there at the top, and having my kick at -6 sounds good for this. And then now we just bring in this 808 and we kind of just level it in, and so then we bring in this second 808, we level it in pretty much the same way. That shit sounds so clean. And then we might as well just finish up the big 3 so that it's like nice and clean for the mix. So let's level in the melody so far. So tip number 4 is EQing your kick. And I like to do this because it frees up your kick from letting in some of those unwanted low end frequencies. Like at the very like low end of the frequency spectrum, there's a lot of stuff that can really mess up your signal as it's coming out in the end through the speakers. And I used to do like a super hard high pass, something like this, back in my more immature days. I would be very okay with recommending just doing like a high pass and a hard cut at about the frequency range, anywhere from like 5 hertz to like probably 30 hertz max is what I would do for my kick. And so you can do that, and I never noticed anything like just really bad, but I did notice that when I started not doing such a hard cut and I started doing something like an analog shelf instead, just something a little softer and less aggressive of a cut, it sounded more transparent, which basically just means it sounded more natural, but still getting the effect of getting rid of some of those low frequencies. And I think that could have anything to do with like the phase issues that get introduced with those more harsh and steep cuts that you use. And unless you're going for a specific type of sound where you can neglect transparency, you usually want things to sound natural, more transparent. I'm just gonna roll off, maybe increase that slope just a little bit and bring it down. And that just sounds nice. And it's just sitting better with that kick. Now it's louder. Remember, we had it just at 0, but because we've EQ'd it, it's kind of like increased the overall amount of volume because it's like cleaned up the signal and stuff like that. And so I like to clip in cascades now. So if you've seen my recent video on clipper cascades, you'll know about that. So I'll usually deal with that by just putting a clipper on top of the chain, so that even as I increase the amount of gain coming into the signal, that overall signal just gets clipped automatically. And so I have a stack for that in the band for band demo, which get it linked down below if you don't already have it. It's really cool. Band for band is coming out July 31st. If this video is not out by then look forward to it. If it is out, get it. It's freaking awesome. But anyway, I am going to use this preset right here. So I'm just gonna put this back on, and I'm gonna turn that off and come in here, and it's already got the EQ, and I'm just gonna, that actually sounds fire already. And now I can even turn it up. Maybe a little bit more here. And maybe a little bit of a harder clip. And maybe I can use the channel rack to take out a little bit of gain going into the clipper. But then turn the overall signal back up. That's sounding so punchy and so clean, bro. So tip number 5 is EQing the 808, and it's pretty similar to the kick except for like a couple of things. So I have a preset for this as well, so we'll begin by just using that for the demonstration. So we'll drag that on and we'll come into the EQ first. And so again, we just kind of have this low shelf right here to roll off some of those lower frequencies so that it's not so like grumbly on the low end, and we don't force too many unnecessary frequencies through the speaker. It just allows for like less frequency masking, which is what we really want, and just like less unwanted distortion coming out of that speaker, which is like, that's what we want. We just want the cleanest signal so that it sounds the hardest coming out. Just a little dip at around 200. It takes some of that super aggressive power out of it, so you can actually turn up 808 to get the most delicious, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's a lot of timbre in 808s that's dope, but because you have to turn them up so loud because human ears can't perceive low frequencies as well, you have to turn them up to the point where they are just like super loud. And so these types of EQs, especially this one, does a good job of just like dealing with that. I'm tweaking. I have to add it to this 808 too. That's why I love that it's a preset though. It's like I just drag it on and it's already good to go. It's like, I'm telling you, bro, it's been a workflow lifesaver. The amount of beats I've been able to make because of this kit. Get the demo, bro. Get it. If you don't have it yet, you're tweaking. If we bypass that, it's just so much more overpowering without this EQ in it. And then we can't turn it up as much. Now I can turn this up more. Even more, actually. People really be like, how are you able to get your drums to be so loud? And it's just because like I turned them up. I just turned them up. That's it. And people get annoyed when I give them that answer, and it's like, maybe because I'm not more clear about why I'm able to turn them up, and it's because I do a good job of dealing with the frequency masking that's usually an issue with just turning your drums up. And that's just like equalization and good leveling, you dig, which was like the bulk of this lesson. So I promise you, if you just learn a few cool EQ tricks, like you're going to be able to get a lot out of your high quality sounds. Because like, for example, Centerfold has like amazing sounds. So if you get them to like sit really well and manage your frequency masking well, like you're just going to get the most out of your sounds. And that goes for any like good drum kit. And then these presets have clippers on the end of them that just add a little bit of soft clipping warmth on the end of those chains. That's really dope. So tip number 6 goes back to some of the responses to that comment, and it's sidechaining. And I love sidechaining for a very deep reason. So check out the masterclass that comes with the demo for band. I literally made a 25-minute masterclass for you to learn like my mixing on such a deep level that I've never presented to anyone, 100% for free. That being said, it is a really good tool for allowing your kicks and 808s to sit well. So let me demonstrate how I like to do that. And this is why I love using these composites, especially. You're gonna see, guess what else? You get this template in band for band as well, and you get it in the demo. There's gonna be way more in the full version, of course, but like you get this full template set up and explained in the masterclass for free as well. Get it? I made it for you because I like you. So what I'm gonna do is turn on my snare first, because it's also going to that big track. I'm gonna turn on my main snare. And I'm gonna take this big drum sub bus and I'm going to sidechain it, which is already sidechained because that's how the template is set up. And it's already got a limiter because that's how the template is set up. And I'm gonna go to the compressor and I'm just gonna set it to receive signal from that big drum bus. And then I'm just gonna set my threshold because the limiter is already set up. Maybe just a little less ratio for a little bit more transparency right there. But I mean, that's tucked perfectly. And that 808 is sitting even better with the kick. Both of them are. I don't know, man. It's just something about it, bro. It's just something about it. And then we could even start to sidechain other things too. So maybe we take that kick and that snare and we sidechain it to the melody as well. Come in there and we just basically set it up the same way. Receive signal from the big drum bus. And then we set the threshold. I'm gonna want it way more transparent there. Maybe a little bit, way less release. Be more like of a sound design thing here. Now we could turn up the melody a little bit more. That's just sitting so much better. Even if we turn off the one for the melody, you're gonna notice it still sounds dope. But when you turn on the sidechain, it's just clean. It's just clean, bro. So those are my 6 tips and tricks for how to improve the relationship between your kick and 808. If you have any questions at all, let me know down in the comment section. I really do be reading it and responding. As you can tell by the entire video, there was a response to literally just one question. Shout out to the members of my label, Dope, who make this content possible. They also get OD amounts of perks. And just check out the link in the description below. Trust me, you want to be a part of it. And if you have any questions about how this entire mixing process will be finished, check out the free workshop that comes with Band for Band. Get Band for Band the demo, get Band for Band when it comes out for the full version. It's going to be crazy. And if you want to learn just a bunch more about 808s, check out this video appearing on the screen right now where we learn just a bunch of stuff about 808 slides. I'll see you there. I love you so much. Thank you for your attention. Peace.